Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another pen, and this for me is quite a special pen. So I think let's go and unbox this pen and I'll tell you a little story. So this is a Taccia Miyabi, and this is a Maki-e limited edition collection 18 karat fountain pen, and it's the Winter's Breath. Number 5 of 88. So there are 88 of these pens made worldwide. And there is a story behind this, but let me unbox this pen first and then I'll tell you the story. So inside you get this, I think it's a Polweena style box. It's a very, very lightweight box, and it has Taccia engraved into it. And this is actually engraved quite nicely. It looks to me as though it may be laser engraved, because if you look at the registered trademark there, that is so small and so crisp. Now, if I remove the lid, you will see first off the Miyabi Maki-e limited edition collection, and this tells you about the Miyabi collection here, and also the filling system, which is a standard cartridge converter. And here you can see some of the other Miyabi pens. So you have an Imperial Koi, a Dancing Crane, a Fujiyama, a Midnight Sakura, a Milky Way, and an Amber Crystal there. So that's an interesting set of pens. Now, Taccia are actually a Japanese company. They are, I say Japanese, it is actually by, let me show you here, Itoya in the US. They are actually in the US, but Taccia is more of a Japanese name. So the pen comes in this lovely kimono pouch, but let me just put that to one side. You also get a lifetime mechanical warranty there, and you can see there I purchased this from Bryant at Chatterley. And I'd really like to thank Bryant, because quite a number of my pens have actually come from Bryant in recent years. Now, these are two cartridges there that you get, and then you get the pen. So let me just put this away and I'll show you the pen in the pouch here. So if I just zoom in a little bit, you'll see here. So this is a really beautiful kimono. I absolutely love the color on this kimono. I have been using kimonos a lot lately, partly because I have some Nakayas now and some other Urushi pens, and I find that these do actually protect them quite well. So you can see here it says Taccia there, and this is the kimono. So if I now just push the pen, and it will slowly peek out, and this is the pen in all its glory. Now, I said I was going to tell you a story, and the original Winter's Breath from Taccia came out in 2017, and it was more of a sort of rectangular squared off pen, quite long. But a little bit more on the thinner side for my liking. And it was a pen that I really wanted, and I wanted it, and it was a little bit pricey, so I decided that I would, after a lot of deliberation, that I would actually just sort of wait a while, and then if it was still available, I would buy it. And I'd used a friend's Taccia Winter's Breath as well, and she had some others, and I really liked it. But there was one thing that put me off of it, and it was the nib size. And of course, when I actually went to go and purchase it, it had sold out, because there were only 50 of them made worldwide. And then this one came out in the end of 2020, and this is the Miyabi version. Miyabi is actually more of a cigar shape. And again, it's the same Winter's Breath. So you can see here, all of this white is quail's eggs, crushed quail's eggs, and then it has the Raden inlaid into the cap and the body there, and then more quail's eggs and it is a stunning pen. So when this pen became available, I decided I had to get it. And I also had my birthday coming up, so it was actually quite a good idea to actually get it whilst I still could and not let this one go. And I actually prefer this one over the original Winter's Breath because I do typically prefer cigar-shaped pens. So you can see here that this is a cigar-shaped pen, so it does taper down to a point here, but you can see the amount of detail here on the sort of crushed quail's eggs. They try to actually line up. When they crush the eggs, they try to line up every little bit and put it back onto the pen and just lay it out there. So it is quite amazing. You can just see there the detail on those quail's eggs. And if I turn it around, you can then see the abalone shells that are cut into strips there. And it just is mesmerizing. So this is a really, really beautiful pen, and it's a pen I am really glad that I have finally added to my collection. And there are 88 of these ones, not 50 as in the original. So there's 88 of these. I have number 5 of 88, and I suspect these are probably going to sell pretty quickly as well. Although the price of the Miyabi versions are actually quite a bit more expensive than the original Winter's Breath, which also caused me a little bit of deliberation as well, because I thought, do I really want to pay that amount more for it? But of course, FOMO and the fear of missing out tends to actually cause you to want to buy something. So I did with this one. Now, this is Taccia, if you don't know, are actually, their nibs are made by Sailor. So this is a Taccia nib, not a Sailor nib, but it is made by Sailor. And it's an 18 karat gold nib with an ABS plastic feed there. And you can see that the quail's eggs still sort of are all crushed here on the section as well. And then you have the artist's signature there. And also it says number 5 of 88. Now typically Taccia normally put these on the square-ended versions on the rear of the pen, but because this is obviously pointed, they can't really do that. So I guess they've actually switched on the Miyabis to putting it on the section there. So you do have to be a little bit careful. I know I have seen a few of the original Winter's Breaths where some of those quail's eggs have stained, and there is a lacquer over all of this. So I don't think it's actually the quail's eggs that are staining. I think it's the lacquer. I do think, obviously, if you do pick up this pen or any of the Winter's Breaths, then you do have to be a little bit careful. The filling mechanism here, if I unscrew the body, is a cartridge converter, and I actually just filled the cartridge converter with a blunt syringe, and this is a sort of Sailor style converter, and I like this a lot. Like, it does have some big chunky threads here, but for me, I find that it doesn't actually sort of, I don't feel it that much. I do find the section is very wide, and likewise the body is very wide, but I do like wide pens. So for me, this is actually not bad. Now, can I post a cap? I can actually, but it doesn't, maybe it does post fairly securely. I wouldn't say it posts deeply, and it does have a little wobble there. But honestly, with this kind of Raden and quail's eggs, you are not going to want to really post this at all. Now, the other thing that I should say also is that you can see the threads in there. Now, if you try to screw this up, like the nib or the section doesn't go into the cap. So you do have to push it in and twist and maintain that pressure as you're pushing it in to get it to lock into place. So it is a sort of a spring-loaded catch or mechanism to actually get the pen to screw in. So if you take it and you unscrew it for the first time, if you were at, say, a pen show, you're going to say, well, I can't actually get that to cap. You just apply a little bit of pressure and twist, and then it works pretty well. So I'm really glad that I picked this one up. It was an expensive pen, and I always have to think long and hard. Do I really want to spend this amount of money on a pen? But it was for a special occasion. It was my birthday, and I decided I'm going to buy it. And also the FOMO, the fear of missing out on the original Taccia's Winter's Breath, I decided that I just had to pick this one up. So there's a little bit of a story behind this pen, and I think with that, what we'll do a size check, we'll do a weight check, we'll then do a pen comparison, and then we'll do a writing sample. So the full length of the pen, we are looking at about 157 millimeters in length. The length of the cap, we are looking at 70 millimeters in length. So this is a very long pen. Now I will try and stop it rolling on the desk. And the length of the body of the pen, we're looking at 135 millimeters in length. So again, this is a long pen. Normally I would say an oversized pen is around about 128 millimeters or longer. So 135, this is a long pen, and you can see that there in my hand. If I were to hold it up a little bit higher here around the sort of just above the threads, it's still very large in my hand. Now this is inked up, but I think let's go and do a weight check. The full weight of the pen is 33.5 grams. Now this is an ebonite pen. The full weight of the cap, we are looking at just over 11.5 grams. And then the weight of the body, and as I said, this is inked up, is just under 20.5 grams. So this is not necessarily a lightweight pen, but I'd also say it's not a massively heavy pen either. But this really is a stunning, stunning material, and this is a pen that I'm just so glad that I was able to add to my collection. So I think with that, let's go and do a pen comparison. So from left to right, we have a Pilot Vanishing Point in the Raden. We have a Pelikan M800, and this is the Royal Gold Raden. We have a Pelikan M1000 Raden Starlight, a Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight. We have the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. We have a Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagar. We have a Classic Pens LM1 in the Flame Red, a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaoseki. We have a Monte Grappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove, and we have a Monte Grappa Bartolomeo Ferracina in the Shiny Circles. And you can see here that in terms of the size, this is actually just a smidgen taller than the Sailor King of Pen. It's almost as tall or as long as the Classic Pens LB5, and it is actually slightly more girthier as well. So I think let's go and do a writing sample. So this is the Taccia, and it's the Miyabi, and it is the Winter's Breath. Now this is a broad nib that I have here, and it is an 18 karat gold nib. Now I did say that these nibs are made by Sailor for Taccia. Now this does actually write a little bit more like a Sailor 1911 nib rather than, say, a King of Pen nib. So the ink in here today is Pelikan, Edelstein, Topaz. Now, in terms of line variation, this is a broad nib, but it's an Asian, so it's more akin to maybe a Western medium nib, I would say. You can push this a little bit more, but it will railroad here as well. So you do need to be a little bit careful here. I wouldn't want to push these nibs that much. These are quite sort of, I would say they are fairly rigid nibs, a little bit like most of the Sailor 1911 nibs are. Now, in terms of ink wetness, let's take a look. You can see that actually smeared a little bit of the line above. So this isn't an awfully wet nib. I do find that the Pelikan Edelstein Topaz ink tends to be a little bit more on the drier side in a lot of pens. So that could also be making a little bit more of a drier nib. It's still wet enough though, because these lines are still wet. It's just not super wet like some pens are. Now, I wanted to just show something here, and I mentioned earlier on in the review that there was something that put me off, and it was the size of the nib. Now, you can see here that that nib is a lot shorter and looks to be a lot smaller than the Visconti nib. Now, the Visconti nibs are number 6 size nibs, and I always thought that the Taccia nibs were number 5. However, I just wanted to show you something here. If I were to measure, and let me get my measuring device. If I were to measure, this is the Visconti nib. It's showing around 6.6 there, millimeters in diameter. Now, if I go and measure the Winter's Breath nib, you'll see here it's 6.22 millimeters. So this is still a number 6 size nib compared to the Visconti nib. However, it's shorter. So it is still a number 6 size nib. So if anybody is wondering, then this is a 6 size nib. Now, the strange thing is, and I'll show you here, against a Sailor King of Pen nib. And you can see there that the Sailor King of Pen nib is a lot larger. That's normally a number 8 size nib. But you can see the difference there on these nibs. I do actually think Taccia should actually do a number 8 size nib. I don't know if there is a specific reason why they do not. Maybe it is just because Sailor are making these nibs and in contract they are only doing size 6. It may just be down to a cost point as well. To have another design done in a larger nib could actually maybe cost Taccia a lot more money. But I do wish that they would actually look at putting a number 8 size nib on the Winter's Breath, because it really, really does need it. And you can see here, if I just unscrew it again, that nib does look quite small on that very thick section there. So that's about the only thing that I don't really like about the pen, or I didn't like about the pen, and that's what put me off from buying this pen originally when the Winter's Breath originally came out. But to be honest, now that I've realised that it is a number 6 size nib, and I have a lot of number 6 size nibs, this doesn't actually bother me. So that's it. That's my review of the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath in a broad 18-karat gold nib. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye-bye.